Hey there. This is Kinsey Lee Eggles with Remax Realty Group and the Real Housewives of Real Estate. And today we have our great friend, James Bovell from the Cayman Islands. And we're looking forward to speaking with him about how COVID-19 is affecting his country, his business, and the impact that it's having on real estate. So we'll go ahead and introduce everybody, and then we'll get into asking some questions.
Hey everybody, Felicia Beltran with Remax Associates in Pueblo, Colorado, your Colorado connection.
Hey everyone, Alexa Caballo Hughes with the Cabal Group of Remax Right Choice in Connecticut. So happy to have you here today, James. I have my hat on, my sunglasses. We cannot wait to explore the Cayman Islands with you today.
Of course, I ended up going more with a work attire. I didn't realize that you were expecting to be island boy at the moment, man. But you know, we are. For me, it's still part of the workday, and so obviously I still dress the way I would when I go to the office. Actually, I wear a tie as well normally, but I decided with COVID, it's time no tie for the moment. So that's at least a relief for the moment. But thank you for inviting me along. It's wonderful to see you.
No, thank you. You know, it was just, and you know, we had Dario on earlier from Italy. And if you get a chance to watch that episode, very, very informative on how just the world is changing right now, and how the steps that Italy has taken versus what's happening in America. And so we're excited to hear how you're doing in the Cayman Islands. So if you want to go ahead and give us a little bit of information about your background and your experience in real estate, because you're, you know, the typical real estate mogul badass. Just to kind of put it bluntly, and we're lucky to know you, have you in our lives, because you know you're a great guy.
You're too kind, man. You're too kind, Kenzie. It's wonderful to see you all, and thank you again. Now, I certainly wouldn't want to, you know, you put me in a bad spot because you ended up making me come on with Dario. And Dario's a hard act to follow, that's for sure. So, you know, he's very, very charming and knows his stuff as well. And he's got a whole region of Italy. And it's interesting because, you know, I also I have a region as well of Chile. And so I end up on some of the same meetings as him. And it is fascinating to see what's going on around the world. But we can come back to that in a few. Myself, I kind of knew what I wanted to do from about 14, 15 years old. I wanted to be in real estate and in property. And ultimately, what I recognized was I wasn't very good at school, frankly. That was a very short career of mine. And as such, ended up having to embark on life. And I realized that, you know, I needed to do something different. And probably was something that was in my blood. My family owned land and was always into it. And so I wanted to go into it. But I figured I'd start at the bottom, and sales is pretty close to the bottom. So that's where I started. I haven't got that much further because I've loved it. And so I started quite young. I mean, even though I knew what I wanted to do, I tried to get into business 3 times in my life before I actually was able to get in. First time they said you're just too young. I mean, I think I was 17. The second time I was 18, and they said, you know, you need a driver's license. Well, I'd lost that, so that wasn't going to work out. Went back at 19, and they turned around and said, you do realize that we're firing people, not hiring them. So it was a very interesting experience to lead in. And finally, I was about 20 when I got the call. And so I had the opportunity to move back to somewhere which I really loved, which is the Cayman Islands. Having grown up here, I'm from Jamaica originally. My family moved here in about 77 via the US in 75. And we put down roots here. And my father was diagnosed with cancer at a very young age, and we ended up relocating to England. We were always going to go to boarding school. And so I went back and forth as a kid, but primary at that stage was living in England, and I always wanted to be back here, and came back, returned, and started on the lovely journey of selling real estate. That led to me working with an independent company for about 3 years. Really great guy, but I just couldn't get on very well with the manager, so decided that I had to go my own way and look for another opportunity, and that was joining Kim and Brenda over at Remax, which started the ride of a lifetime. So I can't complain, and that led to the opportunity where I guess you talk about reaching for it, and I guess a little bit bad boy. I arrived and it was literally, I don't know if it was a month or it was a few weeks or a couple of weeks, but I always believed that I had to stay and stay later than the boss did, get there earlier than the boss did. Well, these two people, they didn't have any kids, right? So they would turn up at bloody 7:30 in the morning. So I had to be there at 7:15. And then they would come in, they would work, and then they'd give the impression they were leaving, but they were just going next door for dinner, and then they would come back. So I'd find out I have to sit there until 10 o'clock at night. And anyway, doing a lot of research, I guess, at the end of the day. And I remember one morning, so 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, they turned around and said, "Hey, James, you want to grab a coffee?" And I went for coffee with them. And they said to me, we're there chatting away and all of this stuff. And I just, out of the blue, it kind of came from inside, unplanned, just turned around and said, if you guys are ever interested in, selling a business or want a partner, I'd like you to think of me. And I could look at their faces and I could see what they were thinking. It was like, wait a second, you're nobody, you've just arrived on the scene, and you want our job. And but it's funny, if you don't put it out there, you don't ask.
Right.
4 years later, they gave me the opportunity, and I ended up buying the company. And Kim and I decided that after a year or so, because Brenda passed away through that process, which was really, really sad, and she was a huge driving force. And we ended up deciding to reverse the sale into just a partnership. And from there, we've been partners, and continued to sell real estate. He sells as well, and we compete with each other. That's always been fun and a good challenge. And from there, went into Chile, the region of Chile, and that's been a challenge. I can honestly tell you that one's one where we've been tested in every single aspect. I mean, honestly, there was nothing that we hadn't had. We'd had earthquakes, we'd had tsunamis, we'd had civil unrest, we'd had all sorts of different financial challenges and things like that down there, but always just kept on going, and the brand has come through and is doing well. Obviously now we're challenged again, but you stick to it, and we'll get through it. We're not backing off, that's for sure. And so that kind of brings me up to where I am sitting today, which is now with COVID-19 making me work from home, kind of like the rest of us.
Yep. No choice about that.
Bud? Sorry, I missed that.
I said no choice about that. We're all working from home.
Absolutely. There is no choice about that.
So tell us, speaking of COVID, tell us about how the virus has impacted the Cayman Islands and your day-to-day life.
Okay. Yeah. Here in Cayman, it's probably a little different to your regions or the areas that you're in the country, because you guys are considered essential services in most places. So you're still allowed to operate and move, not freely, but somewhat still be able to conduct business. Here in Cayman, we're basically on lockdown. So we're only allowed to leave the house to go to the bank, to go to the grocery store, or to pick up food. And so that's basically it. Oh, we are allowed to leave the house to do exercise along the road, but we're not allowed to drive to a location now. We have to actually just start from where we're at and walk or whatever. And they currently have us on a ban from entering the water as well. So even though I can literally throw a stone and get it into the water out there, which is absolutely stunning, by the way, I'm not allowed in it. So they've got some serious restrictions on us. So you can imagine trying to function and do business is very difficult in that capacity. But we're doing the best we can. And what we're doing is we're trying to make sure that during this period of time, that we're closing out the existing transactions we have. Okay. And so a lot of that is able to happen remotely. The government have had to adapt a little bit and accept that notarization is being done through videos and video conferencing. So that's good. The land registry, they are actually going into the office and dealing with things periodically. They will accept signed copies versus original documents, as long as they come through a legal office, until the originals can follow. So, there are things that we're able to do, and we are closing out some of these deals. We've had a number of them fall through, but, that's kind of expected in a situation like this.
So James, so you shared a little bit how you guys are closing out the existing deals. Does that mean, are you guys able to list homes? Are you able to get homes under contract, perhaps virtually? And how's that kind of impacting the housing market? Is that on a pause, or how are you guys doing business?
Yeah, we are able to get listings. That's one thing. You can do. There's nothing stopping you getting a listing. The problem is, how do you get photographs? How do you get? We can get the information. We can gather that through emails, phone calls, and things like that. The photographs are a little more difficult. So I've actually got owners taking their own photographs, which is scary. But at the end of the day, having something is better than nothing at the moment. And we know perfectly well that, 30 days, maybe 30 days more, we might be in a situation where we can't move. But at some point we will be able to, and so we'll update all of that information. I think one of the other things that you get kind of you start thinking to yourself, well, because you can't show the house, there's no point in marketing it. There's no point in taking a listing. And what I'm finding is that's the wrong approach. Because the truth is, I think you need to have your property out there if you want to sell it. It doesn't matter what the time is.
Right.
And people can always contract for the future sale once they can actually view it and see it. So don't miss an opportunity. You don't know what's going to happen next month or in 3 months' time. So if you do want to sell, you're best being exposed, being available, giving the opportunity. And at this stage, I can't honestly say that prices have suffered at this moment. There's some people who are reducing their prices, but at the end of the day, in the normal market, you have some of that anyway, and it really comes down to the product, and it's just too early to say. We've got more road to travel here, and until they actually lift things, you're not going to really be able to evaluate the pricing side of things.
It seems like everybody's on a different timeline. Can you tell us how long you've been quarantined?
Now that they'd say about 5 weeks.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So
it started tightening up a few weeks before that, and then 5 weeks, 5 weeks ago, it basically just clamped it. And we've got hard curfews on Sundays. That means you can't move. There's nothing. And we do have hard curfew at night as well. That kicks in at 7 p.m. and goes till 5 in the morning. So you can't do anything during that period of time anyway, and on Sundays. Wow. And then even on the bank holiday, like Easter weekend, we have a bank holiday Friday and Monday. On the Monday, you weren't allowed to, and even the Sunday. So Friday was okay, but Sunday and Monday weren't. We locked down completely. It's kind of nuts because they've got you staggered. Like we get to go to the grocery store on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday. Okay, so my family, and this was A's between A's and K, I think it was, all the letters, right? They do it on your alphabet and you turn with your driver's license. And it's like, wait a second, we're absolutely messed here because, Friday we couldn't go. Saturday was someone else. Sunday they were shut. Monday they were shut. Sorry, Friday they were shut. So it was literally like 4 or 5 days of the weekend where we couldn't go. But, you stock up. It's not that bad. We're still able to get things, and the grocery stores are still full. And the local farmers here have been really good in producing. So we're getting still fresh produce and stuff in a lot of instances locally, which is nice. So not all bad.
Are they still allowing flights in and out of the country?
Nope. That got shut down. What was it? That's 4 weeks ago now. Yeah, I think that's just about 4 weeks, and they've extended it. So that's going to go all the way into May at this stage. And actually, no, sorry, what is it? End of May, I think now for flights. So they do allow like private planes coming in, and they also do allow planes coming in, but no commercial travel at this stage.
Can you tell us what a normal real estate market looks like there in the Caymans? Is it, I know we spoke to Gabriela, and she was telling us that, majority of their purchases are, vacation homes. Is that kind of how the Caymans is, where a lot of it's, vacation tourist properties?
Yes. Yeah, we are. Cayman, it's kind of funny. I remember when Kim and I, when we partnered up, and I bought in then. But I remember after a very short period of time, I realized that if I wanted to grow the company and we wanted to get more agents on, that we couldn't just be looking purely as the brand and working more just with foreign nationals coming in and investors or vacation people. We needed to make sure that we were definitely localized and very much that way. And it proved to be really good because in truth, we actually have a really good split between the local market and the foreign market. And so our local real estate is actually very valuable too. Don't underestimate it at all. And we have, one of the unusual things about Cayman and one of our attributes is that ultimately we're not just reliant on tourism. It is a big part of our GDP, but as far as revenue to the government, it's not as big as our financial services. And so we have that as a backup, which is great. And financial services are still going at this stage and doing well and strong. So, we're not as impacted as a lot of the other Caribbean islands. They're going to feel a lot more pain than we will be because they're just so heavily reliant on just the one industry. We've also got real estate and development, which is immense here. As an example, right now, the development line is about 1.7 billion that they've got in the pipes right now. And also more than half of that's already sold. So, there's that's the industry that we're trying to actually get started now because that can actually create jobs active and get some money moving around the country, and it spins out really well as well. So it's a focus, definitely.
Can we ask what your average sales price and days on the market was prior to the pandemic?
Prior to the pandemic, let's see. It depends on what area you're in, but if you were just to say all property across the board, we'd finally got it down to a place where it was looking like it was averaging more around the sort of 180 days. Generally speaking, condos on the beach would run sub 180 days. Residential houses would be pushing a year. The view on that and the reason why is just that obviously small island, small environment, so many buyers at the end of the day, and just trying to get enough buyers to come through the properties to buy them, and it just takes a while to get them. But on the beach, you were finding that the condo days on market was really shortened, and those days on market does include pre-construction as well. So that kind of exasperated the timeline as well. But now I can't tell you what it is now. I mean, now it's obviously we're kind of stuck in the mud right now. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in a few weeks. The amazing thing is that the number of people that have actually kind of contacted us and reached out to turn around and say, hey, we'd like to buy, we're ready to go, we're looking for opportunities. And it's like, Cayman's a great market. And so if there's opportunities where the prices soften, people are there to buy them. There's absolutely no, that's going to happen. The fact is, are these people going to be forced into reducing their prices to justify that opportunity?
Right.
And we're very fortunate where predominantly 7 Mile Beach is probably going to be 90% cash. So there's no adverse pressure to sell. If they want to sell, they do it because they want to. So ultimately, I don't see that really as suffering hugely. Historically, when we did sales over there, they would just turn around, they would say, James, we'll just wait till next year. It doesn't matter if we don't sell it this year. Wow. And they had the ability to wait. They had the means to wait, and it didn't impact them. They're like, well, hey, look, it's our holiday, and we'll come down next year anyway on holiday. So it's not a big deal. So they had that ability. I think there will be some units that come up for sale on the beach, definitely. Because there is going to be a little bit of a shift. There are those who have rental units, and so they're going to be somewhat impacted. And if they're somewhat reliant on that income, then they're going to be affected. Our local market, I think that's probably going to have more of an issue. Definitely the sub-million number, just because there's you're looking at finance transactions, and there are people that have lost jobs, and there are going to be more people losing jobs. The banks have been very decent enough to go and do 3-month deferrals. The problem is that until you actually get to the end of that 3 months, you're not going to see what's actually happening. And then, so I'm expecting June, July, August, you're going to start seeing some pain for some of these people. And so ultimately you might find that there's some foreclosures come on the market, and then there's also some others that decide it's time to sell. On the other hand, upside, I think, it could be a really good time. The thing that I keep on seeing is, I think of this as like, it gives people the perfect opportunity to really think about how you want to live. How do you want to live going forward? I'm stuck here. I've got 3 boys, my wife, and 2 big dogs. And we're in a 3-bedroom place, right? And I'm building a house, and it was 3 weeks from being finished. So this project's been going on a while. But anyway, so it's right there, and it would have been so nice to turn around and to finished it and actually be sitting in it now doing that, But life hasn't treated me well in other ways, but not so well with the house. So you start learning how you're going to use space, and I start thinking about other people. They're much smaller spaces than I am at the end of the day right now, and they're 2 spouses. The spouses are working. They got kids. My kids are all homeschooling now as well. They got an even weirder thing because they go to England, they go to school there. And so their classes start at 4 a.m. So they pick them up at 6 a.m. They're in class, and then they do videos for their first ones in the morning. But, sorry, my point, I got well sidetracked there. So the space is going to be different. So I think you're going to have people kind of space going up, increasing the size, wanting more space. You're going to find others that will want to downsize. They're going to be reevaluating things. And I think that kind of gives our business the opportunity to find more buyers and more sellers at the end of the day, right? So they're going to really think about it. Do I want to study at home, or do I not want to study at home? Should I leave work at work and come home and spend time with the family? Because now a lot of people they're spending a little more time. You go out there on the street in the evening, people are walking, and they're waving at each other and all of this stuff. Of course, keeping the 6-foot distance.
I think that's what Dario was saying this morning, and I think everybody can agree it's a quality of life, type of dynamic. And, for us 3, we're sitting here nodding our head because regardless of what government deems, we know that real estate professionals are always going to be essential in people's lives, more so now than ever. In whatever function they need us, we're going to be there to help them, through the trenches.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you talk about agents and brokers and things like that, I think what's really fortunate is being part of something bigger than ourselves and being part of a brand, because you can leverage the knowledge globally that you get. You can knowledge the information. What was nice was that I was knowing what was going on 4 to 6 weeks ahead of what we were about to experience. So we were able to plan. I started getting the agents' heads around, hey, this is what's coming. This is what's coming. They didn't believe me, but I was like telling them. And then slowly they started getting on the picture, and they were probably, they were very good about getting home and getting into lockdown and being safe and keeping out of harm's way. Let alone all the tools and systems that are being provided for us. And I think you're right. The public they're going to need someone who's got the knowledge, got the experience, but also has resources that they can really offer a good service, especially in an environment like this. So yes, we are needed. And I find it amusing because, you talk about essential services, and what do they say that humans need? They need water, food, and shelter, right? So what are we? We're shelter. And real simple. Housing is absolutely essential, whether it's a rental property or whether it's, your personal home. It is absolutely essential. I just wish our government would see it that way and give us a little more latitude. You're not asking for much, just a little bit more, but I think they will in time.
Hope so.
And we have to say, like you said, there's nothing better than using this time to lean into our tools and resources so we can be better for the consumers. And one of the reasons why we want to all get together is because at RE/MAX, of course, a global footprint here and global connections. Right. We're so thankful to know you. We're so thankful that we're able to share you to all of our guests and our viewers and to people in Connecticut, to all the people over the world. We want to share with them what the Cayman Islands is all about. So perhaps, like you mentioned before, people are thinking right now, how do I want to live? How do I want to live post-COVID? So if you can maybe share with us a little bit for people that have not been to the Cayman Islands, you can maybe paint a little picture for us. There are a few comments on people wanting to confirm that it is, you have a strong local market, but a lot of second homes. If you can speak to that as far as like the lifestyle and why people choose Cayman Islands.
Okay. I'd start with, first of all, I mean, it is obviously an English-speaking country. So for a lot of North Americans and the people who come here, which is heavily North Americans, US, Canadians, but also we get a fair amount from Europe as well. We've got more and more direct coming in that way. English speaking, I think, is one of the big ones. I think our environment is just very, very clean. It's a beautiful place to come. 7 Mile Beach is absolutely spectacular. But it's not just that, it's also the business environment here that's offered, because we also have a really strong local market. And so we've managed to encourage the best of the best to come here, whether it's legal profession, whether it's accounting profession, bankers. And so we have some really, really smart, really good people that are here. And, they've come to enjoy this lifestyle, but also to find an opportunity. And Cayman obviously has that with the financial services, which is a nice complement. The quality of service is another thing. We provide a good service, whether it's in the professional industries or whether it's in our tourism product. Our people here as a whole, Caymanians are very welcoming. You got Cayman kind is the slogan, but the truth is they really are. And I think there was a poll or a survey, a huge survey done by the Big Four, one of the Big Four, and they said that Cayman, that was one of the biggest issues and one of the most wonderful attributes was the fact that Cayman's kindness and the experience that tourists had when they came here was absolutely critical to their experience. So, I think also, it's not just that, they're also very, very receptive to other people coming here to live and have a life as well, and have been very welcoming. I mean, ultimately, I wasn't born here myself. I've always been able to feel at home here. And that's been a wonderful experience for me. And I always wanted my kids to experience that as well, You talk about location. I mean, everything comes down to location. So when you look at the Caribbean, literally just like you drop 400 miles straight south of Miami, it's a 1-hour flight and you hit Cayman. So it's very convenient. And from Miami, the world is your oyster. So you're one hop away from connecting to basically anywhere. And so I think that's really good. And especially with, primarily US based people and Canadians, there are a lot of Canadian direct flights as well. And into, I think it's 7 or 8 major cities in the US, we fly direct as well. It's very easy for them to come and go. So having a holiday home makes a lot of sense. And, they end up establishing real friendships for a very, very long time. Their kids will be here, they would have grown up here, and they'll make friends as they grow up here as well. So it's a very nice experience for those types who are into investing in property here. We've also got lots of opportunities. There's different things for different folks. It's getting harder and harder to get like really attractive pricing on 7 Mile Beach. To find something under 500,000 is well, good luck. But there are other things out there. You don't have to necessarily be on 7 Mile Beach. There's other places. It could be at Cayman Kai. You can be around the other sides of the island where you have beautiful views and you get a nice sized property, and you can really enjoy that. And it's a little further away from all the action, but nothing's more than about 45 minutes anyway. We have, what is it? This country, believe it or not, we got 73,000 population. Normally right now we're down to about 64. But we have 750 trade and business licenses for restaurants. So wow. We have absolutely fantastic restaurants here. You'd be amazed. You pick a country, we're represented. And so the food is very good. The chefs are quite amazing. The talent that's here, really good. So, you can come, you can have a really good experience. One of the things I think that we're seeing more and more as well. But before I come to that, I'm just going to say one other bit, which is more the technical side, is that anyone can actually own property here. So there's no restrictions. There are some islands where there are restrictions on foreign ownership. There are none. It's actually very simple. Title is guaranteed by government. So there's no title insurance or anything like that. And the process is quite straightforward, So we've got one place of registration for the title as well. So one building, that's it. And so there's very few hiccups in that respect. And the process is quite clean, quite simple. The biggest, or maybe the most challenging bit is the stamp duty, which is a one-time tax, but it is only one time. So you spread it over the life of your ownership, 7.5%. But after that, you don't pay anything in taxes. No property tax, no capital gains tax, no income tax, no death tax. And so when you pass it on, if you want to pass it on to your children or anything, it's just done for, what is it, US dollars, $180 is the transfer fee for love and affection. So, you've got a number of these things that are just really, really great and wonderful about investing here. And obviously with the stamp duty, it's based on the last sale. And so when you drive around the island, you're going to see, like, for example, I'm in the old bank house, it's called. It's the house that I'm in. It's literally built like a bunker out of concrete, right?
Wow.
But it's very simplistic, but it's right on the water, which is lovely. But, you go around and what you see is you're going to see like a $5-10 million house or $30 million house. And next to it, you're going to see a shack. And you're going to be like, what the hell is a shack doing next door to that house? And they turn around and they say, hey, James, are there security issues here? And I'm like, no, this is one of the safest places in the Caribbean, man. And it's something else people always ask me, it's about safety. And I say, well, how do you feel walking around at night? And they're like, I feel safer here than I do at home, actually. And it's funny, but it's true. And, so they wonder about these houses. And what I explain to them is I say, look, think about it, right? Most places have, not annual, but they have, let's say every 5 years, they get reassessed in their county, right? And so the taxes are constantly going up and they have these annual taxes. So some lady who's lived in a house for maybe 40 years, right? And she was taxed at one bracket. The surrounding area has gone up in value so much so that suddenly from one year to the next, she's suddenly getting a $20,000 tax bill this year, is in a position she can't afford that. So she's forced into selling. Here in the Cayman Islands, that's not going to happen. There's no taxes. There's no reevaluating on it or requoting it. So they don't have that press to move on. And then the last thing, which is one of the latest kind of drivers for business here, is actually high net worth people moving here for lifestyle. And it actually also goes, funny enough, to the whole COVID thing, right? Because when you look at how people were living, and I was talking about this before and why Cayman, and we're looking at all these people coming here to live, and what was happening was so many people were working online, video conferencing. They didn't have to be across from people. They would go and fly to New York, spend 2 days, do meetings, fly back here for the weekend, kick around with their kids and their family. They can go out every single day of their life, and they can be out in the sun, which is wonderful. And so they come for lifestyle. And so these people have actually relocated here, brought their families. And so we had huge schooling issues because we didn't have enough space in the schools. So, schools have popped up all over the place just to turn around and facilitate for these people. And so, in the next day, I still think that we're on a run where over the next probably 7, 8 years, I think we will get up to 100,000 in population, just because of the fact of Cayman's desirability of being here. And it really comes down to the lifestyle. They can really have a very nice lifestyle. They can spend the time they want with their family. They don't necessarily have the hustle and bustle of a big city and the madness of some of those other challenges elsewhere. You're in a safe community, friendly one. So they are moving here more and more. And we've also had another thing happen, which was in the financial services industry, is the what is it called? It's called the substance law. And what that means is that for you to end up enjoying our kind of tax neutral status, you actually have to have a portion of your business has to be done here or done from here. So what happens is that these companies, if they make the decision that they want to locate here, or family offices in particular, we've got a lot of family offices here, they end up being able to relocate here, and they'll have senior management and possibly the owners or the beneficiaries will be here as well and have a base here, and they can come and go and move around and everything. But it's good for Cayman. We end up with people who bring their families, and that's what it's really about. Building a community, and Cayman's been very receptive to it. My kids, when they were going to school here, right, initially, it was kind of funny, right? The international school, they were what was it? They were up to 700. Yeah, at that stage, the biggest it was before was about 700 kids, right? There was something like 57 countries that were represented at that school. Wow. So talk about a melting pot, you know, absolutely insane. So those are just some of the attributes. The rest you got to come and find out for yourself.
And I love the Cayman Islands, and I've been to the Cayman several times, and it's one of my favorite places to go. What is the average sale price of property?
Yes, I have not answered that question, have I? Okay. Average sales price. I mean, I can, you know, our company was probably running just before COVID. We were probably running about 800,000, 880,000, something like that, an average price. Historically, I'd say 6-7 years ago, average transaction was probably running around sort of really high fours, close to 500,000. So it's changed a bit over those years. And then, you know, we'll have spikes and stuff where it can average at $1 million. I think you're going to find that it'll obviously, I don't know if it'll soften the average price because we'll still end up going to have higher transaction values. So those are going to keep things up to a degree. It just depends on how many transactions happen at the lower numbers side of things, you know. So.
And what is, say, the shack next to the mansion?
Okay, yeah, that's kind of funny because I should have said that actually, because you know they'll turn around and say, James, that shack looks like it's $200,000, and I'm like, yeah, the shack is $200,000.
Okay.
It's sitting on a $1.5-3 million piece of land, you know. So what does that make the shack? It's $1.5 to $3 million, you know.
Right.
You just have to bulldoze the shack, sadly, but you know.
Goals.
So yeah. Yes.
Hey, you have me sold
Exactly.
out, Caymans. We're ready for our trip. Once we're able to travel, we're there.
Excellent.
I want
Yeah.
to see your view. Can you show us your view?
Okay. Actually, you know what? It's going to be a little. Well, the sun's setting, so
Ooh,
it's going to be a little bright. Can you see out there?
Yes.
It's a little bright. So you can see the water, right? It looks further away than it really is.
Wow.
that's
Jealous.
amazing.
Maybe I should like run outside.
I'm like,
it's
just
gonna
go.
be a bit of a
Can you
nightmare.
go for a walk?
Of course, yeah, I can go for a walk. I got legs. I'm lucky.
Let's go for a walk, James.
They're not stopping us doing that yet. A lot of other
We
things,
won't,
but not
we
that.
won't make you get we won't make you go swimming because we don't want you to get arrested. Because
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
No. Definitely
Sure,
don't
No,
make me
no
go swimming.
swimming.
That's not going to be good.
No.
What's the temperature there?
Hold on. The temperature?
Yes.
I don't know. I think we're running about 92 or something.
Oh,
So it's a little warm.
And he's in a long sleeve shirt and usually wears a tie. I'm so impressed.
Yeah, I've now gone with a slight different policy. So
Oops, hopefully we don't lose it. Me and my bright ideas. Sorry,
okay.
guys.
Up?
Now it's bright.
we see you.
Okay.
You really need a hat on, James.
Gonna get sunburned.
I wish it was 90 degrees in Connecticut.
Look at, he built himself a camp. He's got 3 bedrooms in this thing. He's got one room. His little brother goes up there.
You're skipping a little bit.
Making some time. Pardon?
I think you're frozen. Can you guys see what he's doing?
No, we froze him.
Here.
We broke the internet.
Okay, can you see me?
We keep breaking.
See?
Oh,
Apologize, Alexa. It was worth it. Look at
It
that.
was so worth it.
Oh my gosh.
I
So-
wonder if I can.
I'll take you down here. Okay.
Oh, I feel like we belong there.
Aaron goes.
I'm ready. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yes, Annette, we're going there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Our next Housewives trip. Get ready, Cayman Islands.
Right?
I haven't traveled in a while.
I
The
know.
way in this is up there.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that water.
I know. The water there is absolutely beautiful, and you can swim with the stingrays, which is, I'll have to show you. Lincoln was maybe 2 years old. He's just a little tiny baby the first time he swam with the stingrays.
Oh, there he is.
Up. Yay.
Do we get James back?
Nice view, right?
I love it.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Did you see the hut, or you didn't see the hut that the
We
kids
saw
went
the
and built?
hut.
I saw the hut. I love it.
I'm so happy you took us on this walk today.
I know.
Here you go. Look, here's a couple of people biking. See? There's not very much movement going on around here.
I'm not feeling sorry for
Now I'm walking under a neem tree.
We're like, okay, James,
See, there you go,
take
the
us
view
hiking
right there.
around the whole island.
Yeah, if I could, I'd love to take you guys down and just show you that. You'd really like that, man. Or we could go to... And there's some beautiful other houses down there. Wow,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Well, maybe you can take pictures and you can post it on the Housewives Facebook page, and that way our viewers can see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can reach out to I believe it's Jenny that handles James's social media and have her send over some pictures for us to post, along with James's contact info for everyone that wants to buy or sell in the Cayman Islands.
Absolutely. And you're a referral, guys, so that's good for you.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your show, man. It's a real pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's great to see you all. You look very well. And so obviously COVID is not treating you badly, which is great.
Yeah. And, so great to see you. And, just as we were talking with Dario this morning about the last hurrah that we all had together in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
And, and
yes.
Thank you for always inviting the housewives out. And we always have such a great time hanging out with you in Vegas. And
well, what would it have been like without you girls?
We said the only thing
for you guys turning up
party is a Cayman Island party.
Camp Cayman all the way.
There you go. Absolutely, man.
Thank you, James.
I was looking for my bracelet. I couldn't find it. But thank you so much for being here, James. We really appreciate your time, your insight. I know our audience thought this was super valuable. And it's just great to see you and that you guys are well.
Yeah, man. No, we're doing good. We're going to keep the spirits going, keep positive mind, and don't give up. And you never back off.
That's right.
You got to press on in times like this. It's the people who sit back and I'm afraid to say don't get engaged that are going to come out of this worse. So hats off to you to doing something different, and literally hats. Yeah, exactly. Doing something different, because I think that's what the public want. They want something different, and they want to know that there are opportunities out there. There are things happening. There's good stuff going on, and we're out there to help guide them and help them through it. So thank you.
Amen.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And then tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Rob Levy joining us from Brisbane, Australia.
My God, yes. Okay, that's going to be late for him.
It is.
He'll be like 12 hours ahead. Right?
And then we have Felicia, who's on the West Coast.
No, I'm on Standard Time.
Yeah, so early for Felicia, late for Rob. We've been juggling time zones. Pretty good. We only messed up once, and that was today. So,
well, I think that was probably more my fault. I don't know why. I actually had appointments all stacked, so I don't understand how I made a mistake, but I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Perfectly. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Well, talk soon, James.
All right. All the best.
Take care,
Cheers.
James.
Later, ladies.
See you soon.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.